Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? Happy New Year, happy 2015. I am back with my first technical movie review for 2015, and y'all knew I was going to look at this. The Imitation Game, Benedict Cumberbatch, Keira Knightley, so many other amazing actors. This movie was amazing. On a deeper level for me, being that any of y'all out there that love your technology, that like me, I'm an IT nerd. So I went to school for computers, information computer technology, computer science minor. So like I love computers, and this movie, without spoiling too much, is a good inception of some of the ideas that we have today. And I'm just gonna go and read y'all a synopsis of the movie first. So during the World War II, mathematician Alan Turing tries to crack an Enigma code with the help of a fellow mathematicians. Also starring Matthew Good, Alan Lynch, Rory Kinnear. I think he's played in a couple other movies I've seen before. Lord, Charles Dance, Mark Strong, and I think that's the most ones that are notable. But oh my gosh, the feel of this movie, it had that espionage kind of feel to it. It made you wonder what was going on at all points. I mean, it was really straightforward because in the beginning of the movie, it takes place really towards the end of the movie. You don't know it, but you start to figure out that Alan Turing has an interesting past. And I think it takes place immediately right at around like 1951 or 1959. And then it goes back to 1939, which I know that's like about 11 years depending on which one it was, but it was really interesting because you first see Benedict Cumberbatch in such an ominous kind of setting in an interrogation room, looks like in a prison or at a police station, and they're starting to ask him interesting questions, and he's just kind of looking there, and it's really riveting because I think the way that the director shot this, it made it feel like an espionage film, but at the same time it was very rich settings because there's times where you see Benedict Cumberbatch running through like a field and dealing with different emotional times. There are certain times where it's really emotional scene where it's geared right at his face, and then it pulls back and it shows like the subtle details about his character. And I think the flashbacks I love the most because kind of like the show Arrow, that go bring you back and forth to see the inception of the character and how they're actually moved to the character we know. It's really interesting to see certain details that you wouldn't have picked out at first. But I think that the visuals for it, I mean, it was just shot really well. As far as, it wasn't anything groundbreaking. I think that they could have spent a little bit more money on the budget as far as like the war theme stuff that was going on. But I mean, to CGI that, I can understand because it was such a meated story. There are certain things that they had to add in there, and there's probably a lot of copyright and a lot of all this is based on a true story. So there are certain things that they had to disclose that I think they were in a contained file for over 50 years. So this was British intelligence over 50 years until it got disclosed to actually the rights to be out of the movie. And I think the life of Alan Turing got, I think, re-acknowledged at a certain point just in the 2000s. So it makes sense why they had to cut certain scenes out. But I mean, it keeps you going the way of the visuals. So I mean, visuals for me was maybe like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't anything special. The score and the music though were perfect. I think there were a lot of subtle notes and a lot of certain orchestratal like moments when you see like Turing, he's going through his head like, how am I supposed to do this? Or where you see him really early on, really cocky, like, I know what I'm doing, I know the idea behind this. And even when like he's in school, there's a point where he's being bullied at school, and it's such a terrible scene to watch somebody kind of go through something like that, and it's really feeling of really claustrophobic, and it's a silent touch, and then it goes back to upbeat of going back to the present. And so I think that the way that they handled the score, it made up for the lack of, I guess, the visuals that I would have expected for a lot of the war theme stuff. But even then, I mean, the set piece, I'm not sure where they actually shot a lot of it. So they might have went over actually in Germany or Britain and actually shot a lot of stuff. So who knows? But I really like the score for this one. So I give the score maybe a 9 out of 10. Oh my gosh, the acting. This is where I'm probably going to focus a lot about this review. I think I'm going to go back and actually do a spoiler review just because there's so many things that I cannot disclose to y'all. But oh my gosh, Benedict Cumberbatch is the freaking man. Smog, Sherlock, Khan, whatever you want to call him. I mean, be quite honest with you. When I looked at Sherlock for the first time, I was like, man, who is this guy that's trying to like replace like Robert Downey Jr.'s like Macon? Like, I was like looking at this show and I was looking at this man act and the way that his mind works just as an actor. It takes a level of intellect that I dare I say is almost genius level, because for him to go into this character who's a mathematician, who's dealing with antisocial disorder, who's dealing with all these other psychological imbalances and physical imbalances that you're going to find out later on in the movie, it's just amazing to watch. Like, Cumberbatch goes from a character that's cocky and all this and that to you seeing all the shreds of his character being ripped away from things you didn't know about him in the past. Then when you start going into the espionage stuff, when they're actually starting to really try to break the Enigma code and certain secrets have to be kept, oh my gosh, you start seeing that the weight of the war and the weight of the secrets literally transform his character into something that you don't necessarily expect towards the end. And oh my gosh, the ending, when you see his character and what he's kind of reduced to, just the acting is just amazing. Like, this dude, if he's not nominated for an Academy Award, like, there'd be something seriously wrong with that. Even Mark Strong did a good job in this one. Like, I really like Mark Strong's character in this one. He plays the MI6 character. I forgot the character's name. I think it's Stuart Menace. But his character was so ominous and so skeevy, and you don't know, you know one thing, that he's gonna get his, and he's got everybody in his pocket in a sense, but you don't know if he has a moral code. And I think being a Secret Service agent for Britain, you don't know if like his intentions are the good intentions or what's the better good, you know what I'm saying? And so I really like Mark Strong's character. This is one of the ones I really liked his character in. He wasn't in it a lot, but when he was in it, he did a really good job. One notable character that I didn't even know about was Matthew Bird. He plays Peter Hilton. He's brought in later on in the movie as one of the cryptarchs that's trying to actually help out with trying to crack the code. And like, there's a certain scene with him when you start to find out some of the secrets that they've been holding that they cannot disclose them, and it's life and death kind of secrets. You just see his character just kind of disintegrate into it, and it's a really nice scene. I think he's gonna be a good upcoming young actor. But oh my gosh, so Matthew Good and Keira Knightley. So Matthew Good, I think, is such a great actor. I mean, when I saw him in Watchmen, when I saw him in other movies, I knew he's a good actor. In this one, I mean, he doesn't disappoint. I think that Benedict Cumberbatch is so electrifying in the role, it overshadows anything that he does, because his character most of the time is smiling, stuff like that. You're trying to figure out if he's for the better good or if he's really trying to have ulterior motives against everybody. And so I think that shroud that had to be over his character most of the time, like, clouded my look of him being like one of the better standout actors for this one. But Keira Knightley, oh my gosh, she plays Joan Clark, and she develops sort of a romantic relationship with Benedict Cumberbatch's Alan Turing. But more than anything, she's one of the smartest people in this, and you don't know it until a certain point, which I'm trying not to spoil too much. But her character is just so smart that she knows how to bring Alan Turing to life in such a way that, like, he's living. He's working with his team. Like, before, and this is kind of going in between like the story and everything, but before, when he started trying to work with the team, they almost killed him. I mean, he just made no friends at all, and part of that has to do with his past. But Keira Knightley's character, in such a way that she smiles, in such a way she does stuff, and even when she finds out certain revelations towards the end, like, you see her character just, like, she's one of the better comedic characters. It's one of the things I didn't like was towards the end, certain things that happened. But I think that this is the problem with her role in this one. Her role didn't demand for her to go through too much hell. And because her character didn't go through too much hell in the reality, she didn't have to act to that rate. You know what I'm saying? They didn't Hollywood it just to Hollywood it. They kept to the storyline, the story arc based on the true events, which is fine. But I think that is gonna keep her from. She's gonna be nominated. I know for a fact she's gonna be nominated for an Oscar, but I don't think she's gonna win over the Gone Girl. The Gone Girl actress that was in that. Like, I mean, she went through so many psychological imbalances and stuff. I think the Oscars, they look for characters that have to go up, down, and that are brought to the nothing, you know. And she didn't necessarily go through as much as Alan Turing or Benedict Cumberbatch's character go through. So I think she's gonna be nominated. I think she did a great job, but I think that her character didn't go through as much, like something like when she went through even Atonement. Even in Atonement, you didn't see her like physically go through too much, you know. So it didn't require her acting to go over and beyond. But anyway, I know I talked a lot about the acting, but the acting I think makes the movie. There are other characters in this that kind of stand out. I think that one of the characters, I think Alan Leach's character, John, he's one interesting character. But I'm not gonna go into it because I need to save this for the spoiler review. But the story will stand out. I think that certain people have said that they had changed certain parts of the ending as far as I think Alan Turing's like long-term, what happened to his character, I guess, in the long term. But other than that, I mean, the screenplay was awesome. I mean, the way that they went back and forth, showed the flashback in such a subtle way, but then it was a uplifting story because it teaches you a man that is really starting out like a loner and alone, and he works with a group of gifted people that are just as smart or think that they're smarter than him, and he's resorted to making them like his family and to achieve the better good, and his even understanding of life and death is even changed throughout this whole entire thing with keeping all these espionage secrets and trying to crack the code. And the biggest thing about the story is you don't realize that it's telling story of technology. And for me, being a technological enthusiast, like, I love the psychology and I love the techniques behind everything that was going on in this movie. They spent a lot of time in detail with making sure these actors knew this stuff. So I can't even imagine or comprehend how detailed the script was, or like the line for line that each one of the characters had to learn. But it was really good. It was a really good story. I give the movie a 9 out of 10 just on the acting alone. I don't know as much about what is real and what is not, but this is hands down one of the best movies I've seen this year. But I think that what keeps me from giving it a 10 is that the acting raises the bar over the story because it's based on a true story. You know, I think that American Sniper, I think there's gonna be a lot more dramatic things and a lot of things that are happening, versus with this one, there is a lot of death in this movie, but you don't necessarily see it. There's a lot of tortured things that are happening to these characters, but you don't necessarily see it. I think in American Sniper, like, you're gonna see a lot more on the physical side. And I think that's what kind of keeps it away from being like the top for me. But I mean, what can you do? You know, you don't want to stretch the truth. You want to keep it to the rails. So definitely go and see Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, one of his best, amazing actor. I'm gonna go and do a spoiler review if I can. I'm trying to make it short. But yeah, if you enjoyed this review, please leave any comments below and leave a like below. Thanks for everybody that's been subscribing. Continue to do so. If you like the stuff that I'm bringing out, me and Joe are going to have a lot more stuff to come. And yeah, oh, next week I'm going to get some memory, so I'm actually going to start doing videos a little bit differently. Anyway, I'm out, and I'm about to work on a spoiler-free review for Imitation Game. This was my non-spoiler review. Later, everybody. Woo!